Hey everybody, Movie Review Next Door here, and I'm back with another movie review, and this time I'm reviewing Look Away. This is a psychological horror thriller film from 2018, directed by S.F. Bernstein, and it stars India Isley, Jason Isaacs, Mira Sorvino, and Penelope Mitchell. In this film, a timid and socially alienated 17-year-old high school student's life is turned upside down when she switches places with her sinister mirror image. Now, what did I think of Look Away? Well, this is not a film with a ton of amazing reviews, and I think it is fantastic. I really do. I have so few issues with this film that, yeah, I think it's a 10 out of 10. I really do. Now, again, my whole thing of 10 out of 10 is how entertaining is a movie, how well does it do what it's going for. I try to take things like budget into account. I can't find the budget for this anywhere. But yeah, I loved this film. I thought India Isley fucking killed it, and yeah, I'm super open to seeing her do other films. So, let me get to the cast. India Isley as Maria slash Aram. She is spectacular in this film. She really is. She kills the role of Maria, this timid, socially awkward high school girl who has an eating disorder. She's not getting enough sleep at times. She's really just an outcast. And yeah, that character's been done before. I'm not gonna say it's original, which it's not, but no movies nowadays are original, so I don't think that's a good argument to make. But once she turns into this Aram character, she plays like it's like an entirely different character. She's more confident, she's more assertive, she's in a way, Maria as Aram is living out the life that she never was able to get into, and there are certain things about this Arab character that actually help her. But I'll get into that in a bit. Jason Isaacs as Dan Brennan. Uh, he is her father. He is a plastic surgeon. A really piece of shit character, and I think the film did his character well. Like, as in, didn't like shove it in your face the fact that he's a piece of shit. Um, I mean, it's not subtle. I keep saying that in all these reviews. It's not subtle. It doesn't need to be. It's as subtle as it needs to be for this type of story to not be in your face. Um, Jason Isaacs is really good at playing like this. He really is an evil character with how he treats the mother and the daughter. He really is. Um, but yeah, like again, I'll get more into that later. Mira Sorvino is Amy Brennan, the mother of Maria. She's good in the film. I really do like seeing Mira Sorvino and stuff like this. I do think that for her character to be fully fleshed out, I do think you needed like one or two more scenes, like small scenes in there. I mean, this film was only like an hour and 43 minutes with credits, so an hour and 40 minutes without credits. And I feel like adding that in wouldn't have really hurt the pacing at all because the film is pretty well paced. But yeah, I really liked her character. I felt for her. And Penelope Mitchell is Lily. This is the character that is supposedly Maria's best friend from since they were three. She's good. I haven't seen her in really anything. I do know that she is in the film The Hyperions, which is a Daily Wire film I still have not gotten to. I've not seen any of them other than Run, Hide, Fight and What is a Woman. But I'm still really open to seeing those. But yeah, this film, Look Away, the way that I found it the first time I saw it was I was just browsing Prime and I was like, oh, I want to see a horror movie. And while I wouldn't classify this as a straight up horror movie, I'd say it's more thriller, psychological horror, I guess is how I'd put it. I was just blown away by it. I really was. I was blown away by India Isley's acting, the like way the story plays out, the way that really just the way that the story comes together really stuck with me. I really like latched on to it. I even felt for the main character because I felt like that as a kid too, or as a high schooler especially. I was a big outcast, believe it or not. You probably do believe it. But like I was an outcast. I didn't really have many friends. I found it hard to keep friends because I was a bit when I finally found someone, I would latch on to them. And a lot of people aren't into that. They feel like it's clingy. I understand that I'm a bit clingy at times. It's something I need to work on still. But and in my head, it kind of came off as, oh, I'm showing them that I like them. But I guess to some, it comes off as romantic or something. I don't know. But this character, she has like an eating disorder. There's like a scene where she's like eating Fruit Loops dipped in ketchup at breakfast, and it's like it's kind of heartbreaking to watch. I never myself had an eating disorder. I've known people who've had them, and I think it is a heartbreaking thing to have to go through. Um, Her father's really overbearing. Um he's a plastic surgeon, and she keeps thinking, oh, he's for my birthday, for my 18th birthday, he's gonna give me a car, and I'll finally be able to drive to school instead of walking. And sorry about this. I won't have to keep like walking and getting past the bullies and all that. Excuse me for this. I have some allergies. Um, but yeah, like, and then it turns out that he's like taking her to his office to get her evaluated for like a rhinoplasty, and to like she has one ear lobe that's a bit taller than the other, so he's gonna like round it off. And like he's such a piece of shit. He really is. Like, to be a father and not be like, oh, you're perfect just the way you are. And you find out later in the film, and in a very fucked up way, that that isn't like exploitative. It doesn't feel like it's overdone or overbearing how they do this. It's more disturbing because it does explain a lot of the things going on in the film. It explains why this family's a bit fucked, or a bit, weird. And even characters acknowledge like, you Brennans are weird. um and yeah, I think the film very effectively showed us why this family is so messed up, why there's so much discourse between the mother and the father, and the mother and the father with the kid. And I think the film did it well. I do. I Again, if Mira Sorvino was in it a little bit more, I'd be a little bit more happy. But like, still, I think with what she did in the film, she still had was given enough time to become a character, and not just, oh, Mira Sorvino's in the film. And instead, it's, oh, Mira Sorvino's playing the role in the film well. Um, but yeah, other than that, the film does deal with some definitely touchy subjects. And I already had a fight with someone on Letterboxd about one of the things. Now, here's the thing. This character, India Isley's character, Maria, Aram, whatever you want to say, the character is 17. Yes, she is underage. And there are scenes with her nude. The character, or excuse me, the actress, nude. India Isley was 24 when this film was being made or came out. I'm not saying that the film needed nudity. It really didn't. But in order to tell parts of the story effectively, I feel like it was kind of needed, given the whole, given the subject of a young girl feeling like she's imperfect, and feeling like she's not doing everything she can to be perfect by her dad, like she feels like a disappointment, and it's mostly to do with her body. So I feel like in that sense, it made sense. Yes, the character could have been 18. It that probably would have made a lot more people feel a bit better about it. I'm not saying that it was needed 100%, but I can understand why it was included in the film. I don't think that the nudity in this film was exploitative. I don't. Again, I know people will make the arguments, oh, you're not a woman. You can't make the argument that it's exploitative when it's a woman. There's plenty of exploitative male nudity as well uh, in films directed by women that's also uncomfortable. So you can't make that argument with me that I can't comment on it. I'm commenting on the film. I'm commenting on my experience with the film. The film may not have needed the nudity 100%, but I feel it was used sparingly enough to tell its story, and the times that it was used, it was effectively creepy because, in the context of the scenes that it was in, I feel like it worked. That's what I'm saying. But in other parts of the film, um, I do feel like that there are definitely things that could have been done a little better. There's a group of bully characters that like it's a bunch of like male bullies that like bully Maria, and once she turns into Aram, she like gets back at them. Um, and yeah, they could have been given a bit more of characters rather than just, oh, high school bullies, because this film, I've seen people compare this to films like Wish Upon and how it portrays high school life. Now, given that this film came out when I was still in high school, I will say that the film is not like that, like I don't feel like the film is so far removed from how high school is because there's like scenes where characters are like talking about like they're like kissing in the hallways, full on making out. There's a scene of characters like in a hallway like feeling each other up and all that. I can attest to that being a real thing. I went to a pretty ghetto ass high school and that shit was happening all the time. Like shit, there were like back when I was in middle school there were 8th graders that had kids, so like it's not so out of the ordinary that I think it's like unreasonably unrealistic in this film. I think it's pretty realistic. But a main thing that I loved about this film was how it comments on the subject of image. People feel like they need to be, people feel like other people want them to be somebody they don't want to be, both in how their bodies look, how their attitudes are, and there's certain people that you can't change. Now, with that, I think somebody could misread it as, oh, if you are so overweight that it is affecting your health, then you can stay that way because you're happy that way. I don't believe that people are legitimately happy being so overweight that they can't move. And I think that definitely reality TV and stuff like that does glorify that in a way. Shows like My 600 Pound Life on TLC, a lot of stuff on TLC glamorizes like all of these like child diva things and like child pageants and all this. And yeah, I do think it has an effect on people where there are people that'll be like, "Oh, they're trying to get past that," but then like an entire season will go by and nobody will like get less than 600 pounds, and it's really sad to see people be like that. I'm not saying if you're like say 200 pounds, like 5'8", you're not like unhealthy or anything. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this film has kind of a message about you need to be confident within yourself. If you aren't confident with how you look, maybe you should change things. Maybe not. In this film, it's mostly just she feels like she has been spurned on by her father to feel imperfect. And you find out later why, and I'm not going to spoil it because I think people should watch the film. But in the context of this film, I feel like it's mostly that she's too skinny, she's really not that healthy, she has an eating disorder, And yes, if you have an eating disorder, I believe that you should be treated for that. I don't think it is healthy to live like that. People like Eugenia Cooney glamorizing it, saying like, and people saying like, "Oh, live your life the way you want to." I don't believe in that. I believe in trying to save people in that kind of situation because I don't believe anybody should be in that situation where they feel like, oh, they aren't skinny enough, they're not big enough. I would hate to be in that situation. I struggle with weight issues myself. I'm not saying that I'm overweight. I simply just want to lose a tiny bit of weight, but I'm not trying to look like skin and bones. But this film, I definitely think they tackled that point of body image and just self-image in general in a good way where it's more, oh, the father is, well, the father is a manipulative piece of shit who wants his daughter to be in his eyes perfect. He's like cheating on the wife at one point because, well, like he's been medicating his own wife to like forget about all of these imperfections. Like he's really, I feel like what the film is saying is you don't need to be perfect. And I do believe in that. I do believe that there are no perfect human beings. I believe that this facade of being like a perfect human or perfect woman, perfect man, whatever, is definitely something that is pushed by like Hollywood films, especially with people like Tom Cruise, Angelina Jolie, all of these big name actors, Charlize Theron. And I do believe this film has a good point to tell. And I do believe this film has a good story to tell. And I believe that I feel like the horror of this film isn't as black and white as some people say. I feel that the character of Aram is not simply just a villain. She's more of an anti-hero because what she does for Maria does improve her life in ways. She helps her get rid of these things within her and in her life, and including people who are legitimately like tearing her life apart. And I find that very interesting. I know other people don't seem to. It has a 2.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, which is pretty low, and sad to hear that. If they don't like the film, that's fine. If you're just making the argument that oh, there's nudity in the film and that's why it's bad, I don't agree with that at all. I think that you're not really reviewing the film. But yeah, I do believe that people should give this film a chance. And even though most of my review has been talking about other internalized things, whatever, some external to the film, I find it hard to talk about the film because I really do want people to go in as blind as possible. Even though I have said a couple things about the plot, I do believe that if you want something that is a bit more, a bit different, like not just a horror movie like nowadays where they don't have endings or anything. It's especially a lot of A24 horror films where they just literally end and people are like, "Oh, it's left up to your interpretation." And I'm like, "No, it's an unfinished film." Even though I loved Hereditary, I can still admit that the ending is fucking stupid. Where he goes into the treehouse and there's like a bunch of naked people and then it just cuts to black. That's not an ending. It literally wasn't. I still love the film. I just hate the ending so much. But yeah, I definitely think that people should check this out, give it a chance. Don't just go in being like, "Oh, there's nudity of a character that's supposed to be underage. Wow, I should run away." I again, in my opinion, I don't see it as sexual. I don't see why other people are seeing it as that. If they pay attention to the film, I feel like they'd actually understand that there's a bit of a deeper meaning. I'm not saying that it should be a habit of overage actors playing underage actors. Definitely not, because films like or shows like um Euphoria, 13 Reasons Why, movies like Edge of 17, uh Eighth Grade, like all of these movies constantly sexualizing children. And I, I'd say Eighth Grade was way worse because those were actual actors that were around the age of eighth graders. So I'd say that's way worse. But yeah, if you go into this film expecting just like an interesting, like, it's not slow burn. The film takes a little bit to get going, like in the way of it's building up character. It's not that it's boring at the start. It takes a bit to build up the characters, and I do like it for this type of film. So I guess let me get to the pros and cons. Pros, again, India Isley, Jason Isaacs, Mira Sorvino, Penelope Mitchell. All of the other three are good. India Isley was fantastic. The direction from S.F. Bernstein was pretty great. The cinematography, um, from Pedro Luque, who has worked on Don't Breathe 2, um, Girl in the Spider's Web. He's worked in some interesting movies. Um, Very cold cinematography, but at the same time, very beautiful. It's not just your normal, like, A24 bullshit cinematography where it's just, oh, the camera's on a tripod and it's zooming in, zooming out, or literally just standing there. Like, I hate that shit, and I feel like it's just terrible cinematography. Cinematography. But for here, it's like it works really well to just like show you what's going on. You don't feel like your eyes are wandering around the frame, wondering what you're supposed to be looking at. This film is really good with subtleties of like character, like acting. There's like scenes of India Isley's character looking into the mirror, and like Aram moves like just enough for you to notice it, and just enough so she doesn't notice it, that it's very effective. I think that the way they did that effect is very well done. I'll have to watch Mirrors and Mirrors 2 again. I remember liking Mirrors 2 more, and I know no one agrees with me on that. But um the score, who did the score? Mario Grigorov, who also composed Precious, The Evil Within movie. Uh yeah, composed those. Does a really good job of kind of like bassy tones, and kind of it does feel like a 2010s, late mid to late 2010s soundtrack in a way, but it also really works. There were some bits there's like a scene of Maria on the like hockey in the like hockey ice hockey room of the school, whatever. Because the film was shot in Canada, don't you know? Um, it might be supposed to take place in Canada. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But there's like a song that sounds very similar to the 1984 Dune theme from the David Lynch film. The da 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 da. It sounds very similar to that, and I really liked that. Cons, again, the actor playing the main bully, John C. McDonald, Mark. I wasn't big on him. I do think that they played it a bit too over the top, and it did stick out amongst otherwise a very like tonally kind of muted film. Acting wise, it wasn't like super over the top most of the time. It would get over the top in moments where it needed to. And yeah, that's pretty much my only issue with this film. I love this film a lot. And I think that, well, it's on Prime Video. It is also on Tubi, I think. Yeah, it's on Prime Video, Pluto TV, Plex, and Tubi. So if you want to watch it, you can go to Tubi. It's free with ads. The Prime Video version is free without ads, or free with Prime without ads. But yeah, that was my review of Look Away. If you liked the video, comment down below. If you've seen the film, tell me what you thought. And movie reviewer next door, out.